Good morning. Welcome back to the Retirement Report. I'm Hank Parrott, your host. With me, my good friend, special guest, Dr. Friday with Dr. Friday's tax and financial firm in Brentwood, Tennessee. She is the tax expert for individuals and small business owners. If you get into tax trouble, hopefully you never have to worry about that. But if you do, she can also help you there. She's an enrolled agent, so she can represent you with the IRS. And believe me, you do not want to deal with them directly. You know, just like you wouldn't want to, represent yourself in a court case. You want to have a good attorney. You want to have a good representative with the IRS who knows the rules. They keep it strictly a business thing. There's nothing personal here. You don't, get a good person for that, and Dr. Friday, is definitely one that can help you there. One of the things that I mentioned before the break is how we do tax-efficient income planning. Right. When you're starting to take money out of those retirement accounts, in particular, some of the best, and if you've got more diversification, if all you've got is in retirement accounts, we're going to be somewhat limited. There are definitely things we can still do, and we do all the time, to help minimize taxes, not just this year, but over your lifetime, right? You got to be thinking long term. If you're going to save, for instance, 12% this year, but but in 3 or 4 years from now or 5 years from now, you're going to be paying double that, right? 25 or more, 28%. Is that really a smart way to do the money? And the answer, of course, is no. You're going to have a lot more money, and it's going to last a lot longer if you take advantage of how these tax rules work and use them to your advantage. Sometimes it may be better to pay that 12% today rather than twice that amount or more later. And later, it's not that far away. So this is one of those things we look at. So required minimum distributions are one of the parts that come into play here. We're going to get into that a little bit as far as the new Secure Act we've talked about, and that that got passed into law in December, effective this year. It now makes the required minimum distribution age is now longer. Instead of 70 and a half, it's 72. So you get a little extra time to take advantage of tax deferral. And this is helpful, like the client I was mentioning before the break, where she's, we've been able to zero out her taxes. And here's how this works. In her situation, she has money that's in traditional IRAs. She's got some money in Roth IRAs. And then she's got money that's just in what we would call a non-qualified account, money that she's already paid tax on, invested, and that she's able, the only taxable part is what she earns on it. The principal is of course, she's already paid tax on it. Now, the plus side of that is we can now have 3 pools of money that we get to work with. This is very helpful when it comes to minimizing taxes. So the same thing, she's got Social Security for income. If you've got, if her additional income needs are such, if we were pulling it all from the IRA, not only would she be paying taxes on that money, but she would also be paying more tax on her Social Security. Right now, she's not having to pay any. Some of that Social Security benefit would be taxed. And it could be up to 85% of your Social Security benefits can be counted as taxable income, depending on what other income you have. So in her situation, what we do is say, well, we're going to take money we're going to take a little bit from her IRA, just enough to meet that her standard deduction. And then the rest of the income need we're taking out of the brokerage account. And in doing so, we're able basically to zero out her taxes. Do this all the time. This is where sometimes it's been said that, and you'll hear it from other advisors quite a bit, and the principle itself makes sense. It's saying that I want to use up my taxable dollars, or seems to make sense, it doesn't really. Taxable dollars, tax deferred dollars next, and my tax-free dollars last. In other words, I'm going to take advantage of the tax code. I'm going to use these monies up that are taxable. I'm going to that way stretch out how long I have tax deferral and the benefits of that. And then even more tax-free. I want to stress that part out. Well, here's the reality though. It depends on your tax, what you're paying in tax today and what that effect's going to be. If I run out of taxable dollars and all of a sudden my income, jumps way up when I go to the tax deferred part and bumps me into a higher bracket, well, what if I instead split that up a little bit? What if I stretch it out? What if I start taking those IRA money sooner right, from the tax-deferred accounts, use up some of the taxable dollars to balance that out, keep me maybe in a 12% bracket. And I've done that even with people that are looking, that are taking $150,000 or more out a year, or that's their income need, is that we can still accomplish that if they have, depending on their resources. So that's basically, we balance it out, keep them in the lower bracket. Now when we get to RMD age, we've hopefully toned that down. Maybe we've even done some Roth conversions. So by the time they need the required minimum distribution and have to start taking at approximately 4% out, now the 4% is of a lesser amount, and a lot of times we can still keep them in a lower bracket. This is where people get into trouble, and in particular when you see accounts that $1 million, $2 million, $3 million and up, as far as retirement accounts, if you're taking 4% of $3 million, or $4 million even, you're talking about $120,000, $150,000 just on the distributions, not counting Social Security and the rest. It's a good time if you to review that and see if maybe conversions might play into it.
Yeah. Sometimes people always think, I don't want to pay taxes ever, but the fact is you have tax dollars in those accounts. Your choice is how much taxes are you going to pay? It's really, that's the only question you have. And then sometimes you do. You're able to play, and I like to think of it as a game, but you're able to play the game where maybe if they're in the lower bracket for a number of years, you're able to convert some of that money, taking advantage of that 12% tax bracket instead of the 22, 26, or even higher, where they'll be anyways when they have to take their RMDs any way you look at it. So might as well have it, and that's what's great about the particular client you were talking about. She's getting about a 5-6 year window where she isn't going to have to pay nearly the kind of tax that will happen when she hits the RMD age, and she'll have to start paying tax, and her Social Security then will stop being taxed. So not only will she have to pay tax on the money that's growing in an IRA, but her Social Security, which right now is tax-free, will become 85% taxed in her case.
And this is because her RMD, we're postponing and delaying as long as we can, but once she hits age 72 and has to start taking those required minimum distributions, because of the amount that she has in her IRAs, her income's going to go way up.
No choice.
It's going to pump her into the 22, I think, or 24% bracket. She's going to, now Social Security benefits, 85% of that's going to be taxed. So, but this is it. Nothing we can do to forestall it. I mean, I ran the numbers and saw would conversions make sense. What we found, in fact, if we did the conversion, she'd just end up paying more tax over what amounts to about 6 or 7 years, and we would still had too much in those IRAs that we couldn't have deferred enough of it, or we couldn't have reduced it enough. So then let's just zero out taxes for the next 6 or 7 instead. If you'd like to see, by the way, how it worked for you personally, if you'd like to get a plan done, your own tax-efficient income plan based on your resources and your personal situation, give my office a call. The number is 615-376-5325. As a part of this free comprehensive financial plan, the free retirement income analysis, I will show you your financial future, just like we're talking about, based on the things you're doing today, and then share strategies on how you can, in fact, improve that picture. One of those being, of course, to minimize taxes. Another, to minimize risk in your investment portfolio. So we're looking at a number of things. We talk about Social Security, not just, when's the best time to take it, how to maximize the benefit and minimize taxes on your Social Security. We talk about healthcare costs in retirement, Medicare, what original Medicare or Medicare Advantage, what's the best way to go there, how to minimize your healthcare costs in retirement, of course, being a big part of that while getting the best plan available to you. We cover a number of things. Estate planning comes in, of course, tax planning we've been talking about, investments, the whole gamut. It's a comprehensive plan. If you would like that kind of assistance, and where I can bring in Dr. Friday, she'll come meet with us there at the office and help with that piece, all right, as far as the tax part goes. Can bring in someone like Russ Cook or Jack, and that'll help with the estate planning piece according to what your needs are there. So we have a number of resources that we can bring to bear to help you, again, in that team approach that we like to apply. As a fiduciary, I'm a registered investment advisor, and that means a fiduciary. Acting in your best interest is the legal standard to which I'm held. And we take that very seriously. So we're looking to find the best plan for you and share these strategies, proven strategies we've used over the last wow, 30 years now. Ouch. So call my office, 615-376-5325. First 10 callers. Tessa's standing by. She'll get your information. She'll send you out a checklist of things to bring to your appointment with me, and we will do this planning for you. All right? And it typically, this isn't a mail it in, it's going to be done easily. Typically, it's going to take at least 2, maybe 3 visits really to put this together, but you're going to have something truly valuable that'll save you, I promise you, thousands, probably tens of thousands of dollars, in some instances even hundreds of thousands over your lifetime. So if you'd like to take advantage of that, again, first 10 callers. And when you come in to see me, I'll give you a free copy of my book, 7 Steps to Financial Freedom in Retirement. And a lot of those are covered in there. Basically, I share stories of people I've worked with over the years and the type of strategies that we've used with them, and again, the results that we get to see with that. All right, back to taxes. So on the Secure Act, this is one of those things we've talked about, and I can't stress it enough because this is going to change the estate planning piece in particular. Yeah. So we were talking about RMDs. That's a nice benefit.
Well, I guess I was going to jump in really quick and talk about how when you were talking about planning, and it's not something you're going to do one time. This is something, it's like estate planning or anything else. You need to stay on top of it. For a big example, Secure Act happened. How is that going to affect many people's plans? Because what you planned at one point was 70 and a half. I have to take RMDs. Now maybe you don't take required minimum distributions until you're, until you're 72, depending on your age, and then what you're leaving to your children, the way it was being left at one point. They changed some of that in there. So now's the time to really go back in and say, hey, wait a second, I had this awesome plan a year ago, which was great, but now with the changes that happened in the tax law, what does that really mean to the plan that you already had set up? Is your financial planner sitting down with you and saying, hey, we need to reevaluate because these changes are going to affect, good and bad, the way we were going to do what we were doing in your plan? It
changes everything. It truly does when it comes to estate planning, because now, if you've got large accounts that you're going to be leaving that are IRA accounts, and you're not going to use all that money up in your lifetime, and you're planning on it going, you and your wife or husband or spouse, and you're going to be passing that on to your children and grandchildren. Well, before, right, like 2019 before, you could do a stretch IRA. So for those that inherited IRAs prior to this year, okay, so for last year and years before, you're able to get that stretch IRA out, meaning you can just take required minimum distributions on those accounts over your lifetime, potentially on to your grandkids and over their lifetime. So for you doing it, you're maybe even up to where you're taking required minimum distributions. Hope you live at least that long. And then it goes to your children, and now they're taking required minimum distributions, and then they don't use it all up, so it goes to the grandchildren, and they're taking required minimum distributions. However long that works, based on the amount of money and the amount of people that it's being divided up amongst, right? You were able to stretch it out for a very long time and minimize taxes. That was then. This is now. Exactly. 2020, it's different, right? What do we got? Well, now we've got the new Secure Act that says you have to take it out within 10 years. So we have this new 10-year rule that states that basically within that 10 years, now it doesn't require that you take an amount out every year or any year, other than at least by the end of the 10 years, it has to be emptied out. That's huge, now, if it's a taxable account, you're going to want to take advantage of probably divvying it up over the 10 years to minimize the tax, hopefully, over that 10-year period. If it's a Roth IRA, on the other hand, or a Roth 401 for that matter, right now it's tax-free. Well, I don't want to take any out if I can avoid it. I'll just imagine I could put money into an account that's going to grow tax-free. And how long would I want to do that? Well, as long as I can, right? So that 10-year rule in this situation, I'm going to go out to the last month of that 10-year period. I'm going to use all 10 years of getting that tax-free growth before I take it out, so and I must take it out. That's going to change the estate planning, because what you had hoped was going to give college education to your grandchildren possibly, if there's only 10 years and now the money is basically out of a protected retirement plan, what does that mean? I mean, there's got to be new ways that you guys, because these guys are always thinking of ways to put that back where it can still be shielded or protected possibly, to still grow at a way that your grandchildren can still have a college, because
Come on, not everyone's good with money.
This goes to where how you do it. You're right. The trust document has to reflect the goals of your planning. So if the goal in this situation is going to be to keep money in the plan, right, or keep it protected, and well, let's say we don't want them to get all that money,
or divorce,
even though
or anything
so
else.
there are tax rules that dictate this 10-year rule, but then there are estate planning that we can put around it that can still protect against that money just being distributed out.
That's huge.
But again, this is where it's time to review your estate plans, right? Because there are new rules here. All right, we're going to take a break. We'll get into that a little more and some other tax tips for you. But first, a quick break. Join us here. We'll be right back on the Retirement Report.